Welcome into another edition of our In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. And on Saturdays, we do an expanded podcast during this time of year, not only looking at the stakes races at Keeneland, but the top races elsewhere around the country. So we're going to take a look at grade ones in New York and California, but we will start with a list of races that includes 3 grade ones on Saturday at Keeneland. And we will start with a grade 3 to Keeneland Select Woodford for 3-year-olds and up on the turf, 5.5 furlongs. That's race 5 on the card. I am Tom Leach, along with Keeneland's director of Simulcasting, Jim Goodman. Last week, I've got to crow about picking Little Mike by the slimmest of margins. He got home at a nice price, and then we had a few other winners that were small prices, but always nice to get a nice one, a nice big price in there. So we'll see if we can do the same this week, 1 or 2 more times. Jim, let's go to the Woodford. Who do you like?
You're going to kill me, but I didn't take a look at the Woodford top. You want to start over?
Oh, okay. That's fine.
I just did I did the grade. I started with TCA and went on through the first lady and the Shadwell. I actually did the pick 5. Did you do the Woodford?
I did do the Woodford, but
who you like?
Console, Mott's horse, Claiborne horse.
I'll just agree with you, and then we'll go on to the TCA. How's that?
Okay, that's good. Let me
go. Let's start it over.
Let me go back here.
Sorry.
No problem. Here we go. We're going to start at Keeneland in race 5 with the grade 3 Woodford. It's the Keeneland Select Woodford, 5.5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. Jim, I went with Console. Horse ran a big number at Saratoga, first time off a layoff for Belmont, and then he put him in a stake and he didn't run well. But the fact that Mont wheels him right back in another graded stake makes me think the horse is perfectly fine and could easily fire a big shot like he did first off the layoff. So he's working exceptionally well also. So Console for me, and I would use him in exactas with the 3, 7, 8, 9. Who do you like?
I also like Console. I'm focusing more on the late pick 5 and the all stakes pick 4. But in the Woodford, I can agree with Mott. Mott always has a shot in big races like this. He seems to know more about his horses than other people do. So I agree with you, and I would take Console on top as well.
Let's move to the TCA Stakes, race 6. Champion Groupie Doll won this race as a prep for her Breeders' Cup win. She's trying to follow that same path. Can you beat her?
Well, I'm from Frankfurt, so I've got to pull for Groupie Doll. Fred Bradley and Buff Bradley. It's a great story. You don't see many of those in Thoroughbred racing any better than Brass Hat from a small farm followed up by Groupie Doll. So sentimentally, I would love to see Groupie Doll win. She's going to be a very short price. And I was sitting here looking at the races, trying to beat her. I don't think Judy the Beauty can beat her. Purely Hot ran a really good race at Presque Isle in the Masters against Groupie Doll last time out. And it's a great story. The Presque Isle people were so happy to see this horse run well. She'd won 5 in a row up there on the Presque Isle synthetic, so she obviously likes the service. She's made for this kind of track. I think she'll like Keeneland. Groupie Doll, however, moved forward off in that race off the Gardenia when she really needed that race to get ready. If she takes another step forward, they're not going to beat her. But I'm kind of pulling for Purely Hot to run a big race. I like the connections, and I think that's the only filly in here that really has a legitimate shot. So maybe Cold Exacta over Purely Hot might get you $8 or something like that. You've got to pull for Groupie Doll, and I think she's probably going to win this race.
I couldn't find a way to beat her either. I tried to talk myself into Judy the Beauty, but I think the post position draw favored Groupie Doll between the two of those, as if she needed anything else going in her favor. So Groupie Doll, Judy the Beauty, exacta bucks for me. 7th race, the grade 1 First Lady, first of 3 straight grade 1s. It's at a flat mile on the turf, 3-year-olds and up, and really good field. A couple of European invaders, although the one for Edward Dunlop is also, I think, considering the spinster, so not definite to run in this spot. And this is a tough bunch. I had a hard time coming up with a strong opinion. Where did you land?
Yeah, there's no standout in here like there is in the previous race. And the First Lady's a tough race. Day at the Spa and Daisy Divine both love Keeneland. They've both won grade 1s here. But I'm going to take a shot here. I've watched turf racing all year long. It seems like the Europeans are so much better than the Americans. So I'm going to take a shot with Aidan O'Brien here with Say on the inside. The horse has run well in Ireland. Seems to have, if you look at the past performances, seems to have a closing style that may suit this race because you got enough upfront speed with Day at the Spa and with Daisy Divine. So I'm gonna take a European, not sentimentally, but realistically, saying that Aiden O'Brien isn't shipping her over here just for fun. So I'm gonna take Say over Day at the Spa and Daisy Divine. Ms. Ida may benefit from a good pace up front and may close for a piece.
Yeah, I liked Ms. Ida. I like the Europeans. I ended up coming back to Daisy Divine just because she runs her best races at Keeneland. I did an interview with Andrew McKeever for the Keeneland YouTube channel that if you follow Keeneland on Twitter, you'll get notified about. And he said she had some foot issues over the summer, but she's perfectly fine now and seems to be back at her best. And I know she loves this course. So I'm going to take Daisy Divine and then use her with the 178 in exactas. Eighth race is the Grade 1 Dixiana Breeders Futurity for 2-year-olds at a mile and a 16th. And I ended up going to the Mark Casse horse Conquest Titan here. This horse was favored first time out in what proved to be a bear of a field at Churchill. Didn't win, but came back as a maiden and won a stake at Woodbine and showed significant improvement. Talked to Mark Casse also, and he thinks he ran – he won the Alcibiades and ran second in the Futurity last year, and he thinks he's better loaded this year. So Conquest Titan for me to win, and then I'll use him with the 3, 10, and 12 in exactas. What about you?
I can make a case for Mark Casse always. There's no question about that. I'm going on a little bit of a shot here. I'm going to take Solitary Ranger, and my reasoning, I have no idea if this works out or not, but Florence Giroux, who is a jock that's based at Arlington and Hawthorne, is actually flying down here on Saturday to ride Solitary Ranger for Catalano, getting on a private plane in Louisville and flying back to ride in the Hawthorne Derby.
Wow.
And so, and you're talking 4:49 for this post time and 8:05 for the Hawthorne Derby. So he's going to be getting out of here as soon as this race is over with. He's coming down here for a reason. This horse looked really good winning the Futurity at Arlington. Big step up in class, but all these 2-year-olds are stepping up in class, and I don't know who improves. Kendall's Boy, if his buyer was right at Saratoga, a 94 buyer first out, and he lost to Havana, who's running at Belmont in the Champagne. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But Kendall's Boy, 94 buyer, is correct. He comes back at Churchill, wins by 5 1/4, and they give him a 63. I just don't. He ran a 1:12 6 furlongs, and that was a very, very slow race. And so I'm not sure that they don't make sense to me. They're 94 63, and he wins by 5 1/2 second time out. If he runs back to a 94, he's tough. Rum Point is shipping from Del Mar. Doug O'Neill doesn't bring me here for fun either. Del Mar Futurity, he didn't run very well, got beat by Tamorando. But I think he's got a shot. I can make a case for a lot of them in here. But I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit with Solitary Ranger for Wayne Catalano.
Ninth race is the Grade 1 Shadwell Turf Mile, and it's on the turf, 3-year-olds and up. The defending Horse of the Year, Wise Dan, is going to be the heavy favorite in there. I thought if the only horse I could give a shot to would be Silver Max because he seems to have come back finally to top form and actually looks better than ever. And he's the speed, and at a mile maybe he could do it, but to me he's the only one. Otherwise, Wise Dan would be my pick, and I'd box those two in an exacta. What about you?
Well, we're so happy at Keeneland that we got 10 horses in this race. Because when Wise Dan announced he was coming here, we were thinking 5. And what all these trainers are looking at, or the same thing I'm looking at when I'm handicapping the race, it's a great race for second. I can make a case for a lot of horses for second and third here. I can't make a case for Wise Dan to lose this on his home turf, and I don't see him losing the race. I'm going to take a shot to that the Argentinian horse that comes from Del Mar is live here. Ran really well at Del Mar. You have no idea what he ran against in Argentina, but he won 2 in a row and comes back and gets a 101 buyer at Del Mar and a $100,000 optional claimer. He looks as good as anybody else in here except for possibly Summer Front and Silver Max. So I'm going to take a little flyer there and hopefully he gets in the money. Key Wise Dan on top and single Wise Dan in the late pick 4.
3 Grade 1s at Belmont, and the 8th race is the Grade 1 Jamaica on the turf at a mile and an eighth for 3-year-olds only. And this is a big field and really tough handicapping challenge, I thought. Where did you go?
Well, I went to Ramsey because he's been winning everything with Admiral Kitten. But then I looked a little bit closer, and I really like 5-iron. Now, I'm not sure whether he's going to come here, if he's going to go to Hawthorne, but if he winds up here, if they keep him in New York, he looks like he could be the controlling speed of this race. I don't know that he's as good as some of these horses, but I don't know that unless get in line. Now, Ramsey's entered that horse to obviously be a rabbit to try to keep somebody from getting an easy lead. He tends to do that, and then Admiral Kitten comes from out of the clouds. I'm thinking 5-iron could possibly get an easier lead, and if he does, he may be tough to run down. He ran a mile and 1/8 in the Saranac at Saratoga, so there's no question about the distance. The other horse that I like to hear, Jack Milton. He disappointed a little bit in the Secretariat at Arlington after running very well in the Virginia Derby, and I think you and I both picked him in the Secretariat a few weeks ago at Arlington, and Admiral Kitten came from out of the clouds and beat him. So I can make a case for him in here. I can make a case for Up with the Birds, and I can make a case for not a cat but a llama. But I'm going with 5-iron, and he's 10-1 morning line, so you're gonna get a price if you believe what I'm saying.
I did like Jack Milton a lot in the Secretariat, so I'm going to come back to him here and watching that race and looking at the running line. He was back further than he usually is, and it was a slow pace, and I think Rosario left him too much to do that day. So I think he can certainly win this, and he's working sensationally for Pletcher. So Jack Milton for me to win, and then I'm going to use him. I'm going to try 4 different horses in keying Jack Milton and exactas with them. Up with the Birds, Admiral Kitten, War Dancer, and then Balance the Books, who was one of the better 2-year-olds on the turf and maybe coming back to that form. 9th race, the Grade 1 Frizette, 2-year-old fillies at a mile. Sweet Reason, I think, would certainly be favored in here off her big wins at Saratoga. I'm going to try to beat her with Recepta, number one, because Sweet Reason has the 1 post going a mile, which is not great. And then Jimmy Toner's not a big first-out winner as a trainer, and Recepta won her debut and real impressively. I think the horse that was the runner-up, I think, was a McGahee horse that was well-regarded. So Recepta for me, using her with Sweet Reason and Stop Charging Maria. What about you?
I'm going to take Sweet Reason, although I don't like there's no way she's 8-5. She's going to be more like 3-5, even though she does have the inside post because the spin away was so impressive. And Stop Charging Maria was hard-pressed to get within 5 lengths of her. I'm going to take Artemis Agriterra. I can't pronounce it, but that was a pretty impressive maiden special weight win at Saratoga. Won off by 11 3/4. And obviously everybody knew that she was live, but she went off at 1-2. She got an easy lead and just stretched it out and ran a 1:10-2 6 furlongs at Saratoga. If she's got that kind of speed that she shows here, she can give Sweet Reason all she wants, I think. And I'm going to do a 1-2 exacta box with those 2.
10th race is the Grade 1 Champagne for 2-year-olds, also going a mile. And you've got Havana coming off that big buyer number in his debut. Strong Mandate couldn't have been more impressive in his 2 wins at Saratoga. Where did you go here?
And Honor Code. You got to make a case for Honor Code. Shug McGahee doesn't win a whole lot. I mean, he looked great at Saratoga, but it was on a sloppy track. Came from 22 lengths out of it. You think about being 22 lengths behind the half-mile call and wins by 4.5 and 1:23-2 for 7 furlongs. Was it a sloppy track, or is he that good? Who knows? He's an AP Indy. He's a class colt, so I think he's got a very good shot. But I went with Strong Mandate on top. The hopeful win was very impressive, although the buyer didn't come back as impressive. Again, on a muddy track, so that's a question mark there, but he's run well on a fast track before. The other horse I thought in here, Havana, I don't like a horse that gets an over 100 buyer in the first time asking, and he was extremely impressive beating Kendall's Boy in the maiden special weight at Saratoga, but horses like that tend not to run back to that kind of number, so I would expect a little bit of a bounce there. The other horse I think that's got a shot at a price is Ride On Curlin. Solis rides this horse. Calvin Burrell rode in the Iroquois, and the Iroquois is the race that Dale Romans ran 1-2 with a 25-1 shot and a 30-1 shot, and this horse was actually favored at 2-1 the Iroquois after breaking his maiden at Ellis. So he didn't run his race in the Iroquois, but I'll give him a shot here to get the money. But it's a great race. If Havana runs back to 102, he probably wins, but I don't think he will.
Yeah, I'm hoping he goes favored because I think he would be a very much a false favorite, especially stretching out from 5.5 to a mile. Also, I ended up taking a little bit of a flyer here on Casaguapo, the one. I was impressed with the way he finished up at Saratoga. Now he gets a little more distance here, and from reports is training really well. So take Casaguapo. And would box him with Havana just in case Havana is the real deal, and then box him with Strong Mandate. They ran Strong Mandate over Casaguapo, and the hopeful it could come back the same two, maybe reversed this time. So Casaguapo for the upset for me. Santa Anita has the Grade 1 Santa Anita Sprint Championship, 3-year-olds and up at 6 furlongs. Trinidad's in here, the defending Breeders' Cup Sprint champion, so obviously a prep here for the Breeders' Cup Day. I like Golden Sense. I think he's at his best distance, and he gets back on dirt, which I think is his best surface. He's 2 for 3 at Santa Anita. So Golden Sense, I like him a lot, and I'd use him with the 1, the 2, and the 3 down on the inside. What about you?
Oh, you're tossing points off the bench, huh?
I am.
They ran 1-2. They ran 1-2 at Del Mar and the Bing Crosby, and I think they got a real shot at running 1-2 again. I had the exacta that day. Points off the bench and Golden Sense owned by Rick Pitino. You got to bet that exacta, right?
Yeah.
So
at least some people in these parts do.
You never thought about that, did you, Mr. Leach?
That's right.
It's not like you know basketball or anything, right? Points off the bench that day impressed me a lot. I mean, Mike Smith held off Golden Sense, and as you watched it, I mean, Mike outrode Kevin Krieger that day. I mean, he really did. Now, Bejarano gets on Golden Sense for the first time. I'm going to give the edge to points off the bench here because I love Mike Smith in a big race, and points off the bench is 5 for 7. You're going to get a price because they are going to play Trinidad, who I think this is strictly a prep. I don't think he's going to be cranked for this one. So I'm going to take points off the bench on top of Golden Sense. Hope Trinidad runs out and take all in the third spot.
Well, it's another great day of racing, and it's just the start. The Fall Stars weekend just launches what'll be an incredible fall meet here at Keeneland, and of course the Spinster's coming up Sunday. We will do an abbreviated podcast of that for Sunday, and every racing day we'll have a podcast just looking at the feature race at Keeneland, and then every Saturday, of course, we do the expanded one. So best of luck to everybody, and we will see you for our next edition of the In the Money podcast here at KeenelandSelect.com.